Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. For today I've prepared a list of 15 fragrances that are cheap and in some cases not so cheap but still affordable, which whenever you wear them you're going to leave a lasting impression. The first two scents that I've prepared for today's video both come from the brand of Paris Corner, and the first one is called Rifaat, and this fragrance is a clone or something that's heavily inspired by YSL's Baby Cat. It's all about the vanilla in this fragrance, just like with the original scent. It's a dark, slightly smoky, a vanilla-based fragrance with lots of suede leather. You get a hint of spiciness, some saffron, some ouds on the dry down, but again, it's all about the dark and thick, sweet vanilla, note in this fragrance. Pretty similar to the original fragrance, maybe comes across even a little bit sweeter compared to the original scent. Comes nicely packaged, has a very decent performance. It's in fact quite a strong fragrance, long lasting. It's perfectly unisex scent that maybe for some people leans a little bit to the feminine side, but I see absolutely no problem why guys can wear Rifaat. So if you love vanilla based fragrances, then definitely check out Rifaat from Paris Corner. The second Paris Corner fragrance that I've prepared for today is called Maahir, and this one is supposedly inspired by Imperial Valley from Giza. Now, I've never tried the original fragrance, so I cannot tell you how close this is to the original scent, but I can tell you that I absolutely love this fragrance. It's actually a very unique scent that combines a few very different notes. You get a very oudy fragrance that has lots of agar oud. You also have a very strong leather note. In fact, probably the strongest note in here is the leather note. You also get quite a bit of ambery sweetness, and to go along with that you get a nice amount of citrusy freshness in the opening, a hint of greenness, all around a very unique fragrance that again is perfectly unisex, maybe leans a little bit to the masculine side. Can be a little bit divisive, I can see why, because this is a very interesting and unique scent profile, but I absolutely love it. Super strong performing scent, very long lasting, and also is a room filling type of scent, projects really loudly, and the best thing out of all is that's pretty affordable. So the second fragrance in today's video, again from Paris Corner, Maahir. The next fragrance featured in today's video will be from the brand of Swiss Arabian, and it's called Shaghaf Oud Azraq. Another very unique fragrance. Now, some people call this a clone of Montal's Oud, Honey Oud. To be honest, I've never found it to be super close to the Montal fragrance, but if you're not familiar with the Montal scent, this one has lots of honey sweetness, lots of ambery and vanillic sweetness. There's a cinnamon spiciness, there's a leather note in here, and even a hint of smokiness. Very Middle Eastern vibe, very strong fragrance, very sweet and strong fragrance, very long lasting, very hard projecting, perfectly unisex in my opinion, and again the best thing out of all is that it's pretty affordable. So if that sounds interesting to you, then definitely check out Shaghaf Oud Azraq from Swiss Arabian. The next one comes from the brand of Rayahaan, and it's one of my newer additions to the collection, and it's called Corium for him. This fragrance is a clone of stronger with chew leather. And in fact, it's very nicely done, slightly sweeter compared to the original fragrance, still carries that very famous, very well liked DNA of the stronger with you line, with all the vanillic and the amber sweetness, all the warmth and the gourmand aspects of the original fragrance, but adding a strong leather note and adding a bit of an agar oud note in here. As I said, very sweet, even sweeter, feels even sweeter compared to the original scent. Has really nice quality, is very affordable, and from at least from my early testing seems to be a very strong scent that lasts for a very long time. So the next fragrance featured in today's video from Rayahaan Corium for him. My next suggestion comes from the brand of Afnan, and it's called Supremacy In Oud. And this fragrance is cloning or has been heavily inspired by Oud for Greatness from Initio. And probably this is my most favorite clone of Oud for Greatness, just because it makes the whole scent profile a little bit sweeter. You still get the same players like with the original fragrance, the strong agar oud note, the saffron, the nutmeg, you get the patchouli and the musk, but here you have added slight fruity sweetness and also ambery sweetness, which softens up the whole scent profile. It's an absolutely fantastic fragrance, very high quality, very long lasting, very hard projecting, a little bit more expensive like most of the other fragrances from the brand of Afnan, but you get super high quality in return. So my next suggestion from Afnan, Supremacy In Oud. My next two suggestions come from the brand of Lattafa, and the first one is called Maahir Black Edition. A very unique fragrance, very dark, very mysterious type of scent. It's very oudi, it's very spicy, it's leathery, it's slightly green, slightly musky, and you also get a nice amount of ambery sweetness with this one. Very challenging fragrance for most people out there probably, but I really like the scent in here. Another very long lasting fragrance that projects really hard, but this can be only worn in cold weather. You should not wear this in anything like the late fall and winter time, because it's that strong and that dark. But it's a really nice fragrance and comes really uniquely packaged in a unique looking bottle. That's an absolute weapon. And my second suggestion from the brand of Lattafa is on the opposite end compared to the Maahir Black Edition that I showed you earlier. This has nothing challenging in it. It's a very sweet fragrance. It's a flanker to the OG Khamrah, and it's called Khamrah Qahwa. Now, as I said, a flanker to the original fragrance carries very similar scent profile to the original scent, with one new note added to the whole scent, and that's the note of coffee, which adds a nice twist to the whole scent of the fragrance. In its core, it's pretty much what you expect from Lattafa, that very sweet, slightly spicy scent profile. That's an absolutely fantastic scent that works great in cold weather, and it's absolutely perfectly unisex. But the added coffee note just makes the whole scent way more interesting in my opinion, especially in the opening. This is even stronger than the OG Alhambra, which is already pretty much a beast mode performing scent. It's the total longevity is almost on par, slightly longer lasting, but where this shines is on the projection side. This projects better than my bottle of Lattafa Khamrah. And if you have to choose between the OG Khamrah and Khamrah Qahwa, I would strongly suggest that you try Qahwa before you actually purchase the OG Lattafa Khamrah. So my second Lattafa suggestion in today's video, the Khamrah Qahwa. My next two suggestions come from the brand of Fragrance World, and the first one is called Exposé Unisex, and this is one of those rare occasions where you get an original creation from Fragrance World. At least to my knowledge, this is not a clone of anything. It's a very interesting fragrance that's super sweet and super boozy at the same time. Perfectly unisex fragrance, great youthful scent, great for clubbing nights, for a night out. If you want to make an impression, especially if you are, at a younger age, this thing really works nicely. Strong projection, long lasting, a little bit more expensive than some of the other, Fragrance World scents. Comes uniquely packaged with this sort of an, cap, if you can call it that. All around a very interesting fragrance from the brand of Fragrance World. So this is my first Fragrance World suggestion, Exposé Unisex. And my second suggestion from the brand of Fragrance World is called MOA Oud, one of the very first scents from Fragrance World that I ever added to my collection. A very interesting fragrance. I'm a huge fan of this one. To this day, one of my most favorite Fragrance World scents. I don't know what this exactly is cloning, but this is oudi, it's sweet, it's slightly leathery, there is a bit of a boozy note in here, a bit of a coffee note. Very nice, very interesting scent, slightly dark, great for cold weather, perfectly unisex. Very strong performer, very strong projector, especially with some maceration. This turned into a really nice scent. And the best thing out of all is that this is one of the cheapest Fragrance World scents that I have in my collection. So my next suggestion, my second suggestion from the brand of Fragrance World is called MOA Oud. My next two suggestions will be from the brand of Maison Alhambra, and the first one is called the Oud Collection Crafted Oud, and this is cloning Tamin's Carved Oud. It's also very similar to Tom Ford's Oud Oud. Very interesting fragrance that I absolutely love. As the name would suggest, this is a fragrance that's based upon the note of agar oud, but you have a nice amount of ambery sweetness with this one. There's a nice amount of a leather note in here. Very dark, very sophisticated, but at the same time very sexy scent. The quality here is very good. The packaging, the presentation is very nice. The performance, especially when we talk about longevity, is also very nice. It doesn't project very loudly. It's one of those scents that's more of an intimate type of scent, more for a personal enjoyment. But I really like this fragrance, and I had to mention it in today's video. So my first Maison Alhambra suggestion for today is called the Oud Collection Crafted Oud. And my second suggestion from the brand of Maison Alhambra, it's called Exclusif Saffron. Now this is supposedly cloning Carolina Herrera's Saffron Lazuli. Now, I've never tried the original fragrance, so I cannot tell you how close this is to the original scent, but I can tell you that this is a very, very interesting scent that I really like a lot. The latest Maison Alhambra fragrance that I've added to my collection, and basically with this one what you get, as the name would suggest, is a very strong saffron note, but you also get a very strong oudi note. I don't know if there's an agar oud or gaiac oud note, but it's one of those two. There's a nice amount of leather in here, there's a nice amount of rose, and basically those are the main players: the leather, the rose, and the agar oud and the saffron. But you also get some amber and vanillic sweetness, and all around this is again a very, very interesting fragrance. So far from my testing, this is proven to be a very strong performing scent, very long lasting, very hard projecting, perfectly unisex. Some people call this to be a little bit feminine leaning, but to my nose this is perfectly unisex, and it's a very, very impressive. So my second Maison Alhambra suggestion for today, Exclusive Saffron. The next two suggestions will be both from the brand of Armaf, and the first one is called Armaf Hunter Killer. And this is a very, very lovely scent, you know, one of my best discoveries from the brand of Armaf last year. It's a fragrance that is not a direct clone of anything, but it's very heavily inspired by Mancero's red tobacco. Also some hints of L'Homme Ideal Extreme from Guerlain as well in here. It's a fragrance that has lots of tobacco, has lots of fruity sweetness. I also pick up a cherry note in here, which brings it somewhat close to, you know, L'Homme Ideal Extreme. Very, very nice scent all around. Very nicely blended, very soft, you know, scent that actually has great performance, very long lasting, again, very nicely projecting, can be found for really, really cheap, and all around is, you know, a unisex fragrance that maybe leans a little bit to the masculine side, but still to this day one of my most favorite Armaf fragrances. So my first Armaf suggestion is called Armaf Hunter Killer. And my second Armaf suggestion comes from the Club de Nuit line, and it's called Club de Nuit Untold, and this one is heavily inspired by Baccarat Rouge 540. Now, it's not a direct clone of BR540, more like a twist. You still get very similar scent profile, get that oudi, spicy and cotton candy sweetness from the original fragrance, but this one doesn't feel as sharp or as spicy as the original. This feels like has a little bit more of a metallic edge. Maybe on the dry down becomes a little bit sweeter than the original fragrance. It's a, you know, a unisex scent that for some people may lean a little bit to the feminine side, but I know a lot of guys that wear this DNA without any problem. Performance is absolutely fantastic, pretty much a beast mode performing scent, projects really, really nicely, and if you can find it for the right price and you like the original DNA of a BR540, then you need definitely to check this one out. So my second Armaf suggestion in today's video is called Club de Nuit Untold. And I'm going to end up the video with two suggestions from the brand of Haramain. And the first one is called Amber Oud Black Edition, one of my most favorite Haramain fragrances. A very, very interesting, very strong fragrance that's, again, not a direct clone of anything, but it's somewhat similar to something like Tom Ford's FN Fabulous, but this is just, you know, like that fragrance, but on steroids. Very, very strong fragrance that relies heavily on the notes of leather. You get an ashy tobacco note, you get a lot of ambery sweetness, you get some lavender freshness, you know, aromatic properties in the opening of this fragrance. Again, a very, very strong, dark and sexy scent that has beastly performance. Lasts for very, very long time on skin, on clothes, lasts for days, projects really, really nicely, and all around I absolutely love the dark nature of this scent, you know, on its own. So my first Haramain suggestion is called Amber Oud Black Edition. And my second Haramain suggestion, technically, although it's sold under the brand of Orientica, is called Orientica Exclusif Oud Bleu. And this is a super high quality clone of Parfum de Marly's Leighton. Again, like the previous fragrance from Haramain that I showed you, you can think of this as Leighton on steroids. Super close to the original scent, maybe slightly different in the opening. This feels to my nose slightly more spicy compared to Leighton in the opening. On the dry down becomes super close to Leighton. Quality here, the scent is absolutely fantastic. It feels pretty much like you're smelling something that actually came out from Parfums de Marly's themselves. Comes luxuriously packaged, has beast mode performance, very good projection, and probably the only drawback of this fragrance is the fact that it's quite expensive. Still though costs, you know, at least twice less compared to the original scent. So my last suggestion in today's video from Orientica and Haramain, Exclusif Oud Bleu. So guys, in today's video I showed you a total of 15 cheap and some of them not so cheap fragrances, which whenever you wear them you're going to leave a lasting impression. I hope that you found this video interesting or entertaining. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.